It's been a while since we really made you guys angry.
No, not again!
So today, we're gonna be rating GPUs.
Welcome to the GPU tier list for 2025, where Jackson and I give our opinions on the best new GPUs you can buy, and you might not be happy with some of our choices. Let's dive into it after a word from today's sponsor.
When it comes to memory and storage, I think it's pretty fair to say that the company we use the most is today's video sponsor, Team Group. The Team Group G50 is a Gen 4 NVMe M.2 SSD. The capacity is ranging between 512 gigs up to 4 terabytes. With read and write speeds reaching 5,000 megabytes per second, the SSDs allow users to enjoy gaming on a new level. It also features an ultra-thin patented graphene heatsink. This allows for better performance and cooling with a 5-year limited warranty on top, so you can rest easy knowing your data is secure. The Vulkan Eco DDR5 RAM comes in a 32 gig kit at 6,000 MHz or 5,600 MHz. With CL30 or CL38 options, there's also XMP 3.0 and AMD Expo overclocking support. The Vulkan Eco also adapts highly efficient heat spreaders made of 80% recycled aluminum. This also makes it the first eco-friendly DDR5 memory for overclocking in the industry, which is insanely cool to see. If you're interested in purchasing the Vulkan Eco DDR5 RAM, the G50 SSD, check out the links in the description down below. Now, let's get back to that video.
Okay, for a clarification on what this tier list is, because there was some miscommunication on the last one. A lot of people were wondering, where's the 1080 Ti? Where's these legendary GPUs in the tier list? This year, what we're gonna be doing is focusing on new graphics cards that you can buy right now. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean new gen, like AMD, they have some older GPUs you can still buy new. We're really gonna be focusing on new cards that you could buy on Amazon, Newegg, or any other retailer like a Micro Center or wherever. New cards only, nothing used and nothing old gen. So hopefully that clears things up for you all.
And we're both gonna be doing these tier lists separately, and keep in mind, these are just our opinions. They are not fact, so before you guys go to the comment section, stop.
We try to bring some facts to it, but you know what? We're the Toasty Bros. We like to entertain you guys, and also, you know, our opinions are our opinions. So let's go ahead and dive into building the ultimate tier list. And that's contradictory because I just said it may not be the best. Let's just build some tier lists, shall we?
All right, it's time to do some tier list action. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with the Intel Arc B570. So 12 gigs, actually, no, this is the 10 gig. This is the 10 gig. I forget that this card exists. So we get the B580 and the B570. All right, B570, it's a little bit worse than the B580, obviously, 2 less gigs of VRAM. I definitely feel like this card was kind of weird because it wasn't much cheaper than the B580, and I don't really feel like you can still buy them very often. If you can, I feel like they're 200 plus, so I'm probably, and also, like, a lot of games don't work very well with Arc cards because, you know, driver incompatibilities are just kind of weird. I think I'm gonna go C tier on the B570. I don't know, I'm indifferent on it. I've used it many times. I like the card, it's just it needs to be a really good price.
B570, the not so interesting card of the 2 new cards that were launched from Intel. The B570 is cool, I just wish it was priced. The B570 is one of those where it's not that much cheaper than the B580. As you can see right here, we have one for $229 with $9 shipping, so that would put us up to $240. It's about a $40 difference. Performance is close. There's an open box one that's actually a pretty decent deal. It's an okay card, but it is a decent amount worse than the B580. So it's one of those things where I don't recommend it nearly as much as the B580, especially with how cheap the B580 is getting now. So I still think it's a solid card, so I'm gonna put it in C tier. I think it is one card that if it was priced more aggressively would be a good option. Now the B580, I love the B580 just because of the whole VRAM thing. It does have that extra VRAM buffer, but when compared to new gen cards, even like the 5060, we've done our benchmarks of it, in games that are not VRAM bound, which again, there are a lot of games that are that, the B580 falls behind the 5060 and even the 9060 8 gig as well, but it is cheaper now. So because of that, I'm gonna put it A tier. I think it is probably the cheapest option for those wanting to play pretty much everything at good settings, while being a little bit slower than other options that are maybe $30 or $40 more. But at least it's not the same price as those cards anymore. It's actually priced accordingly, and if you get it for $259 or $269, I think it's a good buy.
The B580. This is a card that I know Matt and I differed opinions on, maybe not as much now, but at first when it came out, I know Matt and just everyone else loved the B580. I thought the B580 was a great card. I'm glad that Intel did it. I hated though that the B580 was a little bit worse than RTX 4060. It was a little bit worse than an RX 7600. It did have more VRAM, which is cool for certain titles, but for the most part in most games, it performed a little bit worse. And it costed more once people thought it was an amazing card because of, you know, all the YouTubers out there like, oh, this is the killer, it kills all the other cards. So I'm gonna be honest, it's coming down in price. I'm liking it more and more now. I'm gonna put it at A tier, but just that's my disclaimer, is I think people really overrated it at first. Speaking of overrated, Everybody hates the RTX 3056 gig. I'm gonna tell you guys why I love it. Number one, NVIDIA does not often make older cards that are more like in the lower end range for very long. Usually like the 5050. They're probably gonna stop making that card the moment that 60 series is announced. The 3050, however, came out with 30 series. They're still making it. It's $179 to like $200. I don't love it for $200, but for $179 or less, it's basically a new 1660 Super / 1660 Ti. It's 6 gigs of DDR6. They make it in a low profile variant. None of them need external power, which is huge. So 75 watts is all that's needed. I think it's an amazing card for the price. I don't know why people bash on it so much because I get the concept, right? It's like, $180, you can get a 1660 for 100. Okay, it's used. We're talking all new. Some people don't want to buy used stuff. They want a warranty. It is going in S tier. I don't care what you all say. I think it's an amazing budget card.
I know Jackson's take is probably pretty high, but he put it on A tier. I like the 3056 gig for specific use cases, and it's one of those cards where if you're looking for the cheapest of the cheap new cards, 6 gigs of VRAM, it's basically a 1660 Super. In terms of price performance, going used with the 1660 Super is going to be a much better buy versus the 3056 gig. You save about, I don't know, like 60 to 70 bucks for like the same performance. I'm gonna put her in B tier. I'm going B tier. I just think it's a solid card for what it is, especially for upgrading old office PCs, which we love to do, but the price performance is getting worse as we go on. You definitely have way better options, and in terms of the new cards on the market, is the cheapest, but maybe buying the cheapest card is not the best idea in 2025. 5050. I'm going D tier with the 5050 right now. I think the 5050 is overpriced. $250. I think that card should have replaced the 3056 gig and came in at right at $200, and I think it would be a really good card. If it was, it probably would be in the B tier category like the 3056 gig, but the 5050 is just overpriced right now at $250. Yeah, $250, $269. It's just not there. You can spend, in most situations, especially these ones that are $269, you can spend $30 more for a 5060 and it is way better performance. We did a whole video on that. 5060 is a better buy. So 5050, going D tier.
RTX 5050, speaking of the new 3050, it needs external power. I think you can or you will be able to get in a low profile variant, but it's gonna need external power. This is more like a 3050 8 gig replacement though, not a 6 gig. Kind of expensive, they're like $250. I don't love the price, but at the same time, I'm glad that NVIDIA is trying to make a more budget card, but they kind of are failing at it. Man, I feel like the card's gonna come down in price. It is 8 gigs of GDDR6. I think it's gonna be a good card once the price is right. Now, that may not happen. I'm gonna put it in C tier for now. It may move it, I don't know. It may go down, honestly. So next up is the RTX 5060. That's a card that also people don't really like. It's only 8 gigs, you can't get it in 16, but it's $300. And when you look at it compared to the RTX 2060, even the 1060, 2060, 3060, 4060, it follows the trend of 8 gigs. I know the 3060 you can get in 12, but this card is a good amount better than the 3060 12 gig even. They've always been around $300 for each one of those cards, except for the 1060. So I think NVIDIA is following the same thing they've always done with these cards. Like, nothing's different. I don't really feel right putting it below the B580, honestly, so I'm gonna put it with the B580 in A tier.
This is a controversial one. I'm just saying, we've done a lot of benchmarks with the 5060 versus a bunch of other cards, the B580 being one of them and a bunch of other ones. If NVIDIA just made it a 12 gig of VRAM card, I would have put it in S tier. I would have thrown it right into S tier. It is a great value card at $300 if it had 12 gigs of VRAM, but it doesn't, so I'm gonna go B tier. I think it is definitely a good card. Is it faster than the B580? Yeah, it is, but in terms of the VRAM situation, it does put it a little further back for me just because I can't give NVIDIA credit for releasing a card that should have more VRAM to it. I just think it should. I mean, everyone in the community feels like it should. So I'm not gonna give it the same amount of credit as a B580 because Intel is doing good stuff here, even though it is a bit slower. 5060, I'm gonna go with B tier. Now, it is important. I think it is above, let's see. Can I move these around? It definitely is above the 3056 gig in my eyes. It is at that point where it is so close to being A tier if it had 12 gigs of VRAM, but we're gonna go B tier. Now, 5060 Ti 16 gig. It's a really good card. It's very good, but the fact that it is $500 makes it C tier for me. I'm gonna put this at the top of C tier. It's a solid card, 16 gigs of VRAM. You can play pretty much anything you throw at it. The price is just really high, and I really do think the 9060 XT 16 gig is the way better option. But 5060 Ti 16 gig, we're gonna throw it in there.
The 5060 Ti 16 gig. Now this card I don't love because it is too expensive. Even though it has 16 gigs of VRAM, the 5070 exists with 12 gigs, and you're like, well, 12 gigs is worse. We did a video on this. The 5070 12 gig performs significantly better in most titles, and usually it's only $40 to $50 more. Man, I don't know if I'm gonna have any F-tier cards. I'm normally not very harsh, by the way, when it comes to these things, because I'm one of those people that every card has a use case. Oh man, all right, I'm gonna put it in F tier. I don't feel like it should be F tier, but I think you guys would want that, and I'm kind of like indifferent on this card. I don't like it because of the 5070. Now, 5060 Ti 8 gig, it's basically the same thing. Both 8 gigs of VRAM, Matt and I did comparisons, and it's a lot worse in quite a few games. Now, in your esports titles and the games that don't need more than 8 gigs, it's like so similar. It's a decent amount cheaper. I'm gonna go D tier, honestly. I know it's kind of weird, but it's really just price to performance. I think the 5060 Ti 8 gig being a good amount cheaper makes it a little bit more appealing than the 16 gig, because the 16 gig just like shouldn't exist at the price it does.
The 8 gig I think is worse by a decent amount, so I'm gonna go, it's still better than the 5050 though, so I'm gonna go with a little above C tier. So we're like in the middle. We got the B570 in the middle, and we have the 5060 Ti 8 gig a little bit behind it. 5070 is a card I really like, and probably my favorite out of the 50 series generation. And because of that, I'll put it in A tier. I think, again, it has 12 gigs of VRAM, which has been shown to be okay for most games that you play nowadays. There are some with ray tracing, it will exceed that, but for the most part, the 5070 handles it very well. I think it is right behind the B580 in terms of the cards I personally like the most. So I'll go 5070 in A tier, and if you are even considering the 5060 Ti 16 gig, you can find the 5070 for maybe like 20 to 30 bucks more. Like, let me look up the 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte. Whoa, no screenshot, Matt, no screenshot. All right, so we got 5060 Ti 16 gig. The cheapest one's $450. The RTX 5070 you can get for, there's a $549. I think that $100 difference, I think it's definitely worth it. In some situations, it can be even closer depending on what models you're looking at. So that's where I'll go with the 5070.
The RTX 5070, I love this card. And I know you're probably like, well, why do you like it so much? Well, 12 gigs of VRAM, I wish it had 16, but it's 12, just like the 4070. The 4070 is one of my favorite cards of all time because I think it was so good price to performance wise. I mean, you can literally 1440p while streaming. I did it. I had a 4070 forever. I now have a 5080, which I regret. I kind of, honestly, the 5070 would have been just fine, or my 4070 was still working great for me. I'm actually gonna put the 5070 at S tier. I think for 550 or less, especially in big 3-fan cards, using that 16-pin connector, it's very clean, it looks good. They're stable. I mean, the temperatures are great on them. I don't have much to complain about with it, so I'm going S tier in the 5070. Now the 5070 Ti, this is a card that I don't really feel like I've used a lot. You know, it's 16 gigs, a little bit more performance than the 5070. I think the price is too much though. I think the 5070 Ti's go for like, what, $775? So over $100 more. I don't have a B tier card yet, so I'm gonna go B tier for it. I think it's just a little too expensive. 5070 Ti is probably the highest end GPU I would go with from this generation, 5080 or 5090. The price performance just really falls off a cliff. How cheap is 5070 Ti right now? Let's see. So about 800, 849. Now this one for 799, 7 there, yeah. That's looking pretty decent. Is it the best bang for buck? No, we're really up here on the prices now, but I'm gonna put it above the 3056 gig at the B tier. I don't think it's as good as the 5060 in terms of the value for the money. Actually, no, I changed my mind on that. Let's do this. I think I'm gonna place it right above the 5060, right close to A tier. I do like it. It's one of those cards where if you're looking for a high-end system and you wanna go NVIDIA, I would recommend the 5070 Ti for NVIDIA options, but I don't think it's amazing price performance. This whole generation of new cards is not amazing price performance. And because of that 5080, I'll also go with the high of C tier for that card. It's a good card, don't get me wrong, but I do think, again, the price performance falls off a cliff from the 5070 Ti. So I'm gonna go the top of C tier for that one. And the 5090, I'm going to put, I feel like I have to adjust this actually. The 5080 is another good example of this. The 5080 is not much better than the 5070. It should have more than 16 gigs of VRAM, which I shout out to probably the new Super cards. I think the 5080 Super is gonna have 24 gigs, maybe 20, I don't know. I'm excited for it. Who knows, if it's a good upgrade, I might try to sell my 5080 and get a 5080 Super if that happens. I'm gonna put the 5080 honestly in C tier. I'm not impressed with it. I have a 9800X3D with it, which is like the best pairing, and It's not as amazing as I thought it was gonna be. I paid $1,500 in Micro Center for my 5080. Yeah, so not even scalped. I paid $1,500 for it. That is almost double. Actually, it's more than double. I paid more than double at 5070. I'm not getting double the performance. So stupid price to performance, which speaking of stupid price to performance, the 5090, that is mad F tier. I don't care what anyone says, the 5090 for the price absolutely sucks. It is a horrible card for the price. I'd say it's the worst card for the price. I know all of you are probably like, what about the 5060? What about the 3050? Those cards for the price, the bang for FPS, the FPS per dollar, amazing cards. 5090, horrible price for bang for buck.
Because I want to put the 5090 in C tier just because it's the GOAT of GPUs. It's the fastest GPU by far, but it is incredibly expensive. So I really, as people who focus on price performance, I don't like to recommend the 5090 on a tier list anywhere above these other cards because it's an enthusiast card. It's not the best price performance at all. So I'm gonna put the 5080. We'll move the 5080 up to the back of C tier. Actually, I'm just gonna keep bumping the 3056 gig because like, that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, the 5080 is gonna be on B tier right here, and then the 5090 we're gonna keep on the top of C tier. If it was closer to its MSRP, I think it would be a tier level card. It's a really fast card, but this is the one card in this generation that is really expensive compared to its launch price. I mean, all the other ones are expensive, but they're starting to come down in price a bit. The 5090 was one that just catastrophically went super expensive. $3,000 plus for any graphics card is ridiculous. I can't give it B or A tier for that. Now let's mix things up with some AMD GPUs. The RX 7600. Now I think this GPU is getting a little bit harder to get, but you can still find it new, not the XT one, the normal 7600. $289. I personally would go over the 5060 over this card. They're both 8 gigs of VRAM. I would go with the 5060 for DLSS 4. This is a previous gen card, and now we're getting close to 5060 level price. Back then, I would probably have rated this GPU in the close to A tier category, but I'm gonna go C tier right now. You know, I place these cards here and then I look above and I see the 3056 gig and it just makes me want to keep bumping it down because I think the 7600 is a better deal than the 3050. Actually, no, you know, at its current price, I don't think the 7600 is the better deal. It's gotten expensive. It used to be closer to $200. Now we're almost up to $300. 5060 is definitely better than that card. I'm gonna go C tier on that one.
Next up, 7600, one of my favorite cards of all time, along with like the 4070. The RX 7600 with 8 gigs of VRAM, it's becoming a little less appealing because of the 9060 XT. The 9060 XT 8 gig even is a good amount better than the 7600. So in 2025, I'm gonna put this card kind of with that A tier. You should not pay more than $230 because it is so worth spending an extra $70 to get the 9060 XT, which we'll get to eventually. But the 7600 XT, 16 gigs basically, it's the same as the 7600, but it's 16 gigs of RAM. Price to performance was horrible. I'm gonna put it in D tier because it does have a place for people who need 16 gigs back then.
This card right now is definitely in the, it's in like the boat of the 50-50. I think the 50, it's not as bad as 50-50, but it is in the boat of the 50-50 where it's not really easy to recommend nowadays. 7700 XT is another one of those cards where I think it is a little pricey, but it's one where we included 7000 series because rarely and sometimes on like Newegg and stuff, you can find like a 7700 XT for $399, but now you can get a 9060 XT for $389, so you probably would want to go with that card anyways. I think 7000 series is kind of an awkward spot, and most of these cards are probably going to be in C or D tier just because of their pricing right now. Doesn't mean they're not good cards, but if you're comparing to the new gen right now, 7700 XT, I would be really looking more at, this is tough. What about Oneer? Well, like it's above the 7600 XT because I have seen it on sale for a decent price. Same with the 7800 XT. I think both of these GPUs are kind of in the same boat. If you can find them on a good discount from a retailer like Amazon or Newegg, they would be worth it over a new 9000 series GPU, but it requires a really good discount for it to make sense. Same with the 7800 XT. I would put this above, I'll put this above the 7600 at like the top of C tier because this is one that for a long time, when it was hard to get the 9070 and 9070 XT, this was the good option to go for. That's becoming less viable now, but I think it does rank above the RX 7600 still.
I'm just trying to, my main problem is in 2025, I feel like these cards have gone up in price. This is gonna be easy for me because I think that all of these 7,000 series cards minus the 7,600, I think they've gone, let me double, sorry McAllister so much for doing this, but I literally don't know the going price. $400, I mean at that point, I would get a 9060 XT 16 gig, which I think probably performs better than this card. So there's that. Let's try 7800 XT. We're gonna check all these at once. This card's kind of like you really can't buy it new based on what I'm seeing here. We'll check Newegg real quick, but yeah, screw that. I mean, so 7800 XT for 629. I mean, okay, here's one for 550. I would get a 9070. Normal 9070. Oh, 450. Okay, refurbished. I mean, so they're still there. They're there, but okay. So 7800 XT and 7700 XT. I'm gonna put all these in D tier for the sole purpose of new gen cards. The new gen cards, so the 9070 XT is gonna perform not too far off from the 7900 XTX. The 700 XTX people are asking stupid money for. 7900 XTX and my XTX, there we go. The 700 XTX should be cheaper than the 9070 XT by like a good amount. I'm putting all of the 7000 series minus the 7600 in D tier solely for the price to performance now. And I don't like the idea of having to buy a used card that's been used and abused for just a little bit cheaper than a new card. 9060 XT 16 gig, love it. It's an awesome card. I'm honestly going to go S tier with it. And speaking of that, the 9060 XT 8 gig. Now, I know some people, there's like the whole controversy of why are they even making 8 gig cards, blah, blah. I don't care. Sure, it'd be nice if they didn't make 8 gig cards anymore, but in all honesty, I'm here for, once again, the price to performance and people's use case. I think the 9060 XT 8 gig has a use case for many, many, many people out there who are just playing those esports or those single player AAA titles that aren't Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. There's only a few AAA titles out there that really benefit like big time from the extra 8 gigs of RAM. So I like both of these cards. I think they're great for the price. I like that the 9660 8 gig is like $300 or less currently, which is awesome. And you know, sometimes for the 16 gig, sometimes, not always, they'll be like 75 to $100 more. For a lot of people, that's like a whole graphics card upgrade. So that's why I think they both have a place in the market.
Now we're on to honestly, my favorite generation of GPUs right now, the new 9000 series AMD GPUs, 9060 XT 16 gig. S tier. This card is just awesome. This is the best bang for buck card you can get that's new, and honestly, it rivals some of the used cards in terms of price performance. We benchmarked it against a bunch of different GPUs on the channel where we compared it against some used ones like the RX 6800, and this GPU is just such better value. It's just such a good card. The 8 gig, I think, basically like AMD's 5060, so I think it needs to be right where the 5060 is. Where is it? 9660 8 gig? Yeah, I'm gonna put it right where the 5060 is, maybe slightly behind because DLSS 4 is just really cool. But I think these two just trade blows. If you want an AMD card, go with the 9060 XT's 8 gig or the 5060. I think that's a good spot. Now these two cards I love so much. I think, can I just put them both S tier? I want to put them both S tier. I just love them so much. I'm gonna put the 9070 XT and then the 9070 up in S tier. Really because I think both of those cards are good price performance options, really good GPUs. We used them in our AMD challenge for a while, the 9070. I was very happy with it. I just swapped back to my 4070 Ti because I really just needed the little bit more performance at the time for the games I was playing with my older 4070 Ti. I would have stuck with either one of these GPUs long term. Really awesome cards, and the BIOS mod you can do with the 9070 to basically make it a 9070 XT makes sense, while it is a little risky. Pretty good option. But I'm gonna do a final look here. I don't have anything in F tier.
I gotta put these both, I'm going S tier. I think both of these cards are amazing. I switched to the 9070 at home for a while. So I went from my 4070 to the 9070. No real performance gain, but it was just a solid card. Good temps, very quiet, really low on the power draw. I loved it, and I remember I was going to buy it once I was done with that challenge. I was either gonna buy a 9070 XT or the 5080, whichever one I could find at a good price. I found the 5080 at a price at Micro Center. It was not good, but I love these cards. I love planning builds with them at PC Bros. We sell a lot of these cards in builds. People love them. We never get any complaints. They're stable. I'm trying to think real quick if there's anything I want to move. Yeah, honestly, there's nothing I really want to move. My only note would be those D tier GPUs, so like the 7600 XT all the way up to the 7900 XTX, I do not like the used market. The used market has really been, it's really been upsetting me the last few years. Ever since COVID, I don't like that people are selling used products for as much as they paid for them. One of the main problems is people's new reviews. Oh, the 5070 sucks. The 5060 sucks. No, they don't suck. People just didn't like how much the MSRP was. They're not worse than the previous gen cards. We literally have people ask us every morning on stream, should I get a 4060 or a 5060? I'm like, a 5060, a 4060, you're still paying $300 used. The 5060 is $300. It's better in every way, but besides the point.
Do I need to send something down to the gulag? I want to put the 5050 there. I'll just put the 5050 there. I'll just put it there. I think it could be a good card if there was a price slash, but the price is just not good. And the way NVIDIA handled this launch, maybe this is a little biased on my part, maybe the way they handled this launch is what rubs me the wrong way. Never reached out to anyone for reviews. They just dropped it on the market and just said, have at it, people. And a lot of people bought it up on launch. Now no one's buying it, obviously, but it's one of those things where I just don't like how NVIDIA handled that launch. Not great. 5060 wasn't that great, but as time has gone on, the card itself is actually pretty powerful. It's just the VRAM limitations. So I'm gonna run with it. I'm gonna run with this tier list. Let's go ahead and bring them all together and let's go over our results. All right, guys, it is time for the reveal. I think this one's Jackson's.
God.
All right, you want to work your way up from F to S, or you want to kind of?
Yeah, so you want me to kind of explain?
Yeah, kind of explain your reasoning. So we got the 5090 in F tier.
Yeah, 5090 F tier because I
Okay.
basically said out of every card on this list, it has the worst bang to buck in terms of FPS per dollar.
Yeah.
It's just factual.
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, I personally
yeah,
don't like the 5090 at all. I'd
Yeah.
rather buy the 5080 for half price and get.
Oh, okay.
So
And even then, the
It's-
5080 I rated kind of low too because, once again, still not good bang per buck. But
Okay.
next to that, I only had two F cards. 5090, 5060 Ti 16 gig, and my sole reasoning wasn't that it's a bad card, it's just way too close to the 5070. And every time I see the pricing of the 5060 Ti, it like hurts my soul.
Okay. And then it looks like we have all of 7000 series basically. And
Except
it
for
says
the normal
7600.
7600.
Which I will challenge on that. I cannot find it for a good price now. The normal
one?
7600. It's
Yeah.
like $289, like average
Oh,
price
yeah, that's
right now.
horrible. See, I did the 7600 first in order,
Yeah.
and then I was like, I said to McAllister, said, hold on, I need to look these up.
Yeah.
And I assumed the 7600 was still like, I think I said 220, 230 is what I'd pay.
Yeah, they're around like 270 to 280 right now.
Well, in that case,
not
then, honestly, yeah, all of 7000 series, for new, like Amazon Newegg, I would put all of them in D tier.
Okay, cool.
5060 Ti 8 gig, I put in D tier because I think that, once again, I think it's not a bad card, but it is still expensive for what it is, and like the 9060 XT
That makes
kind of makes
sense.
a little more sense.
How much are they now? Like,
I did not look up prices for anything except for some of these 7000 series
5060,
cards.
I looked it up. It was,
380?
yeah, like there were some that are like 379, something like
Yeah.
that. So you're basically paying
Not
about
terrible.
$70 more over a 5060. So
I mean, that is basically comparable to like the 9060 XT 16 gig, so
Yeah.
if I had known that, I probably would have rated a little higher, but in terms of the release price, wasn't great. C tier, my card, 5080.
Okay.
I think it's good, but I think it's double the cost of a 5070. I already looked at the camera, so
Yeah.
it's more than double a 5070. I am not getting double a 50. I'm not even getting double my 4070.
And this is from a guy who's daily driving
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, he owns
so
it.
He owns
I
it.
own
He
it.
bought it with his own money. He owns it. He went to Mike Stern and paid a lot of money for one.
Well, because we were 4070 bros.
Yeah.
Matt with the Ti, Jonah with the
TI.
TI.
Yeah.
And when I compared it with Jonah one day in Black Myth Wukong, and it was like so close, I was like, wow, I just paid like almost triple the cost of that card. So
Yeah, you were able to run like one setting preset higher than me, but I mean, comparative to me spending 800 versus you spending 1400.
and I think for what I do, it's good because of streaming. I think that I feel like I have a little more headroom maybe, but
Yeah.
still, it could arguably be put lower for the price too. It's just I have it, so I'm probably a little biased.
50-50. Ooh.
I put that in C because here was my reasoning.
Okay,
I said
okay.
it is just barely too expensive. It's not like it's insane. It's like $30 to $50 too expensive. And I said I think it'll come down. I said it's either going to come down or it's going to go extinct.
Okay.
I don't
it
know
could be
which.
either one. It could be either
Yeah.
one. That's fair. That's fair. Okay.
But I'm like, what else is cheaper that's new?
I think personally, I think I would have rated the 50/50 lower because if you're considering the 50/50, I would just get a used card that's way better.
But this is not a used video.
But I know it's not a
Jonah.
used video, but I'm just saying because there's options
Yeah.
out there,
That's true.
I would still rate it lower.
I guess, well, to be fair to how I set up my tier list, I was saying only comparing to what I could buy new.
Right,
So that's
okay.
how I was structuring it, not even factoring in used for the most part. So
Okay.
In all honesty, I was complaining a lot of this video.
Yes.
Like, that's why I put the 7,000 series. I said, you guys are on butt with the used market prices anyways. And you know what? I came to a conclusion, like, it's partially because of us YouTubers. Not
Yeah.
us, but because
We
of
hype
the
up the
people,
cards.
the people that were like, oh yeah, they hype up the used cards and then they hype down the new 50 series and stuff. They're like, oh, the 5070 is so bad. So people in our chat every morning, should I get a 4070 instead? I'm like, no.
All right, so B570, I kind of agree with that. I think I had that close to that
C-tier.
level. It's just, it's so close to the B580, and the performance is a decent amount worse, so
Yeah.
it's not really amazing. 5070 Ti and B tier.
My only B tier card. We don't use them a lot. I feel like it's like 5070 or 5080, or like 90 series. So I think if I remember right, these cards are so the 5050s or 5070s. What, like 550?
And that
5070
one's
Ti, aren't those like
Seven
something?
something, yeah.
That's a big price
Yeah,
difference.
it is.
I don't know if the performance is there.
You get the extra 4 gigs of VRAM.
Yeah.
And if all the NVIDIA cards, that's the one I would buy.
Because of what you have now.
Well,
yeah.
because what I have now, and I feel like it's just the best price. So for what you're getting, you know what I mean?
I would
Like,
have to
it's
see
a
the
40,
side-by-side
40p
benchmarks,
card.
but I think that
That's
was my
the
argument
issue,
with
yeah.
it was I had it definitely above. I think I had it higher, but yeah, we'll talk about that later for me. But yeah, 5070 Ti is there. A tier, you got 7600, which we talked about. You're probably gonna move down D tier just because of pricing.
Yeah,
now. 5060 and B580. That seems fair.
Yeah, my thing, I know, Grimlong, those people, everyone hates the 5060, 8 gig. I think for $300 or less, it is a wonderful card for people who don't have a ton of money to spend. And once again, if we're talking about new here, you got the 5050, you get the B580, you get the 3056 gig. So for people who want a little bit more, 5060, 8 gig.
So to clarify, when you did the tier list, is this in order as well on each one?
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
Because I did do that for mine. I guess we did that opposite the last time because I just saw the 3056 gig at number 1. And I was just
That's nice. That's
No,
real nice.
It is S tier though. We'll get to that in
Yeah.
a second. But A tier, my last card was the B580. 12 gigs of VRAM. I did rant before I put it up there though, and I said I think people really overhyped this card. It got way too expensive, and I said we shouldn't even be comparing the B580 to 50 series or 90 series. This is previous gen. This is a 40 series comparison, a 7600 comparison, and from what I remember when Matt and I benchmarked it, I believe the 4060 and the 7600 in most games were better.
Yeah, I think it's very close.
Close, but still,
Yes.
it's like, and it's Intel. You
Yeah.
have the issues with it.
It's deserving of that spot now because it has gone down in
good price.
price.
Yeah,
because
it's good price.
it was used to be
300
300 plus,
Oh,
and
dude,
that
when it
was just
that,
not.
I would have put it probably down at like DC tier comparatively.
Yeah, because I'm buying a 4060 over that every day of the week.
All right, S tier, let's go. We got the 9070s. I mean,
Both of them.
Obvious.
Both of them S tier.
only thing I will kind of fight back on is why is the 9060 XT 8 gig over the 5060? Because they're very similar cards. Is it just kind of like an AMD?
The 8 gig 9060 XT was slightly better from benchmarks I watched a while ago than the normal
Ones
5060.
I will say the ones I watched during the video were very similar, like maybe like a frame or two.
Better.
I mean, I'm just curious if there was a main reason. For
No, that was really it. It was just, yeah, it could arguably be it. I'm not passionate about most of the things on here.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, the 8 gig. And I think I put it there also because of how much people hate it.
Yeah.
I said very clearly that sometimes a 16 gig can be like, I know not now, but for a while there it was $70 to $100 more than the 16 gig. And I said for a lot of people, that's the difference of like a whole card upgrade.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, the 8 gig has a place in the market is really why I put it there.
Makes sense. Okay. So then the 16 gig there, and then the 5070, and
I think 5070.
5070 is great.
Just
yeah, good
one
card.
of the, a lot of people hate it, but best bang for buck.
I think it's just a classic.
Yeah. It's
mid-range
always the
card.
It's always the 70 series card.
Yeah,
16
it's a
pin,
sweet spot.
Sweet on power draw, and most of them are big 3-fan cards. They look nice.
All right, before you get shot by the viewers, 3056 gig.
Yeah, which like Matt, to double clarify here,
Yep.
I'm not saying it is the absolute best card in this whole list, but here's what I said. NVIDIA, everybody says they're greedy, but they have kept the 3056 gig for so long. It's still new. You can still buy it 179 to sometimes it'll be like 189. No external power on any of them, whether it's low profile, full size, that's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Gen 4, a lot of the new cards are Gen 5, so we're starting to see even larger bandwidth limitations. And on top of that, the low profile variants that exist that also don't need external power, the 5050 is not one of those. So in my opinion, it's just what other card new can you get for that price? The next step up would be the B580 or the 5050.
I think I'll talk about my point. I think my argument was maybe you should reconsider spending that much money for a new card anyway.
Right.
That's kind of what my argument was. But again, that ties more into the use thing. And for this video, I did rank it not as high as you, but I did rank it higher. So
Right. Yeah, I just think in terms of the versatility and, well, whether you like it or hate it, I think it's our most used card on this channel besides like the 580. So how much bad can we talk about it? Clearly, it always comes back to us until the 5050 or something ends up. Yeah, it always comes back. It's a boomerang. It's the boomerang of GPUs. But yeah, once again, I understand people who hate it, but I think for the budget sector, and there's a lot of people who are scared of buying used. A lot of people are like, I want the warranty, blah, blah, blah. So yeah.
Cool. All right, let's switch.
All right, so Matt's tier list.
All right, so my tier list, starting with F tier. 50-50. And I honestly, and I've said this, I feel like I have a bias on why I don't like this card as much as a creator, because one, the way they launched this card was so diabolically scummy. They just released it to the market, told nobody about it.
Right.
They purposely were hiding it for a long time and just suddenly went like 50-50. And now that it was on the market, it's really expensive. We compare it to the 5060. Again, we overpaid for it for our video, but the ones that are $269 versus the 5060, go watch that video. That was just rough.
Pretty crazy.
It was rough. Now, yes, I could see it get up to C tier if there was a price slash, but I'm in the mindset that NVIDIA is just not gonna care. And I don't think it's gonna care, which to go to the 3056 gig argument, it's always been that price. So it never price slashed. So it's one of those things where with the 5050, we're expecting something that they'll maybe not ever do. So that's where I'm kind of putting it in F tier.
Well, yeah, I feel like the 5050 would have been a good option if it was a 3050 8 gig replacement.
That's true.
But it really isn't. It's more of just like a dumbed down 5060 for such a small price slash, and it's just not worth it.
Well, I will say, to argue that, the 3050 8 gig was a good amount more than the 6 gig. I think it was like
I think it is trying to be a
230.
I think it is trying to be a 3050 8 gig replacement,
And
but
it is better.
But it's just
Yeah, no, it's a card that I think can go anywhere on this list just by literally taking away or adding $20 to $40 can make it go either way.
all right. That's all I had on F tier. I just had one.
That's fair.
D tier, I had the 7600 XT
So we agreed on that.
Yeah, that card is just, even when it was out, felt like one of those like 580 mods where they just like slap 60 gigs of VRAM on it and you could never fully take advantage of the VRAM. We did a video where we literally maxed out the card on max settings to see the VRAM just go up, but the GPU was running at like 2 FPS before we even maxed out the VRAM.
It wasn't a powerful enough card. Now the 96 is a good example of a card that is powerful enough.
Now in C tier, I did rank these just in order on the tier list. So last I had the 7800 and 7700 XT, mainly because they have all those new, the 9070 and all those cards. They're just better bang for buck. I put them in C tier mainly because there are occasional sales on them. Like even when we're looking for builds, you find some that are maybe like $70 cheaper at times because we're trying to get rid of them, but that's becoming more rare. Next up, we have the 5060 Ti 8 gig that I have in C tier. I think it's a decent card, but it's one of those things where the gap between 5060, 5060 Ti, I still think the 5060 is better and the $70 difference. I don't know.
Between the normal, the non.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where
too large.
because it's 8 gigs of VRAM still, so it's one of those things where like if I'm going to jump up to a Ti card, I'm going to invest in like more VRAM, you know. So that's why. Well, before that, I have the B570 afterwards. Another card that I think could be closer to D tier if it doesn't get cheaper here soon. It's really just not a card no one thinks about. So there probably should be almost like a I don't think about it card. But when you think about it, you're like, it may be, but it's a stretch. It's an $1 card.
So we got the Ti 16 gig. Okay.
I think that card is not as good as the 5070. Obviously, we pushed 5070 much more. I think that one's a way better buy. But if for someone who wants 16 gigs of VRAM, I mean, it is an option. I would go with it.
It's what, like $75 cheaper than the 5070?
Oh, sometimes
right now
we've seen it be like only $30 cheaper at times.
It's gotten better. I remember when we filmed that video because originally it was really close. I think it's like $75 to sometimes $100 depending on the model. So if it's $30, 5070, 100%. $100, you can have an argument there, but it does vary.
I think I think why it deserves to be that low is because if you're gonna just do the 16 gig cheaper card, just do the 9060 XT.
All right, now my next question. So he has the 700 XTX. Did you look up new pricing?
They're $1,000. And I put it C tier because...
Wait, which one?
The
700
XTX.
XTX.
Oh, okay.
So I put it C tier only because it's technically faster than the 9070 XT, and it's technically AMD's fastest GPU.
Right, but for $1,000 compared to the 9070 XT?
Wait, what? 9070 XT is a S tier.
Right, but I'm saying, I'm just surprised you even put it in C because would you pay $1,000 for that?
Did you put yours in C tier?
I wouldn't.
I thought you put yours in C tier.
I did D. Honestly, I would move it to F now that I know it's $1,000 new.
Okay, the only reason I would say that is because it is the fastest card from AMD and it has more VRAM, the 24 gigs of VRAM. So the 9070 XT only has 16. I would make the argument if you do need more VRAM beyond just gaming, that is the best AMD card with AMD accelerated tasks. 24 gigs of VRAM does have its advantages for 700 XTX, and it's in that same category. This is the other thing too, with the normal XT, which I have ranked higher, where those go on promo when they're trying to get rid of those cards. They come in and out on Newegg very often. So that's why I'd have it.
So you're saying as long as it's I guess as long as it's not 1,000.
I would never pick it over a 9070 XT if I had 9070 XT money.
Right. Okay.
I would only pick it. It's one of those rare use cases like the 5090, which is right after it, C tier, where 5090 I had to give it C tier. I get the price performance argument, but it is the fastest card. Like it is the fastest. In certain games, it is 20 to 30 FPS faster than the 5080. Check benchmarks. It is faster, and it is like the top dog. And again, we're price performance bros, but I really can't just throw a card to F tier just because it's just so expensive. If it was $2,000, honestly, it would be higher. Like it's MSRP $2,000, but that's why I put it in C tier.
I see both arguments. I mean, the more I think about it, I feel like Jackson's might have been just a little more personally, I don't know. I feel like you have a personal vendetta against 5090. I don't like it either.
I have a 5080.
I know, but I'm just saying. I think the F tier spot was probably there's some other motive behind it. I feel like you had.
Is there a secret? Is this their secret motive?
I feel like you have some secret hatred behind it.
No, I hated the 5090. I didn't like the 3090. I don't like any. My problem is if these cards are like the 3090 wasn't actually no, it was pretty bad because of COVID. But what was the 4090?
4090 was like $1,700-$1,800, and that was pretty good. I think I like the 4090.
Good, okay.
But still.
And then the 5090, what are those now? Like 23, 24, 25?
They're like $3 grand.
$3 grand. It's insane.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, it's just price to performance. Like it's an incredibly expensive GPU, but yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm never recommending someone buy a 5090 or really a 4090 anymore either. It's just gonna be a 5080.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
I don't even recommend the 5080. I mean, I try to talk customers out of it, so.
That's fair. All right, then my other two, 7600, which with the prices right now, it's okay, but it's one of those cards where it's harder for me to recommend that card. The 7600 XT, again, I wouldn't really recommend because the VRAM's a waste, but the 7600, in theory, if you find it for the 260, 270 mark, it's still a decent option, but you're really close to 5060 at that point. That's why 5060 is higher for me. And then the 7800 XT, which for a long time there, I almost had to give it its props because for a long time there, when you couldn't find the 9070 and 9070 XT, it was the option, and it does have more VRAM. It has 20 gigs. So it's one of those things for those who care about VRAM. It is another card to consider.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're definitely very different on because you had a pyramid. Mine was kind of like all over the place.
Yep.
And then in B tier, we got 3056. There she is.
There she is, baby.
You know, I just appreciate it even being like, give this list to anyone else, they're gonna put it in F tier. I just can't argue enough differently on that. I think at the end of the day, my list is going to solely be give me the prices right now and give me the price per FPS. That's going to be my list all the way. So
I'd be curious. We might need to do that video because I'm genuinely curious. 3056 gig nowadays, what the price per FPS is versus like a 5060, because the gap is pretty big between a 5060 and 3056
at the same
gig.
settings, you're right, yeah.
But what's the price performance there at that point? And that's my biggest thing with the 3056 gig, and it's going to sound really weird coming from a budget tech YouTuber. I just don't even really think anyone should spend less than $300 on new GPU nowadays. Or B580. B580 is $259, but like the $259 mark should probably be the cheapest new GPU you should buy. That's my stance. So that's probably why it's where it's at, unless you're doing the Office PC upgrade, you're doing those scenarios that make sense for the 3056 gig where no other card exists. I'm just saying new 250, I would say 259 is probably the better price. Anything less than 259, I just don't think you're getting good value anymore.
Right. Okay.
It's almost to the point where it's like you're gonna want an upgrade within maybe a year or two after you buy it.
Yeah. Right.
So then it's like, would you rather just save the extra $100 and then go to 250, 260?
Yeah.
B580. So it makes sense.
5080 in B tier. I mean, so that's one up from what I had it at. The 5080 for me is just still like, it's not as bad, nearly as bad, but you said 20 or 30 more FPS lower than the 5090. And like, if sometimes these cards will be a good price, sometimes they're like under 1,000, but most of the time they're still like 1,500. I like, the more I think about it, the more I'm almost like D, F tier even, but I think it's the right price.
Yeah, it is one of those cards where I think 5080, it's one of those where I think in the video I said multiple times that the 5070 Ti, we'll get to in a second, is probably the highest in like NVIDIA GPU I normally would push people in the direction of anyways. The 5080, the FPS per dollar starts falling off of a cliff at that point, but I still think the FPS per dollar is still better than the 5090. So that's why I have it in B tier. 9060 XT, 8 gig and 5060 I have basically even. I kind of just said coin flip, do you want AMD or NVIDIA?
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about, because they're like the same card practically. They both have the same streaming capabilities nowadays. Then you got the 5070 Ti at B tier, the top of B tier, which I can agree with that, because like I said, I don't know what the performance difference of the 5070 and the Ti are, but I could be wrong. I don't think they're like drastically different.
It's marginal for sure.
Marginal, yeah.
I mean,
most of these cards feel like they're marginal these days.
It does feel marginal, especially with all the new features out there. You crank DLSS or frame generating on any of these cards, and you're okay running that. I mean, you'd be happy with the 5060 for most of the games you play, which stay tuned for a video, by the way. We'll be experimenting with that. But 5070 for A tier, the bottom of A tier, and the B580 for the top of A tier. The 5070, I think, is the one 50 series NVIDIA GPU that I recommend anyone buy if they're looking for a good, almost high-end gaming experience. Again, there's some situations, like we've seen in our benchmarks, where VRAM, it's nice to have 16, but 12 is still fine, just like the B580 is. And I think the price is way better price performance versus the other GPUs.
Yeah, and I've seen them go below 550 a couple times, so pretty sick. All right, so we got our S tiers. We got all red, so 9070. Which, so yeah, I had all of these same ones in there too, didn't I?
Yep, 9070, 9070 XT, and then a 9060 XT 16 gig is my favorite overall. I think we don't want to bring in used to it, because I'm just saying, but the thing is, we even tested some older used cards with the 9060 XT 16 gig, and it beats the price performance on the used market right now. And this is the one card that we've done in our testing that we're like, those used gen from like 6000 series AMD and 7000 series AMD really need price adjustments, because this new card is actually a better value versus those old cards, especially when it comes to modern ray tracing support.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. The difference, what we're gonna say, it's huge.
It's just crazy, because you get a new card, you get a warranty, you get modern upscaling tech, you get longer driver support. You don't lose anything with it.
You're also not buying from like a random eBay seller that's like basically no money back. I mean, it's and that was what did we just do? Is it a 6800 versus the 9060?
And it struggled. It had it had its moments. Yeah.
So that's it's crazy how far we've come, and so that's pretty cool about a lot of these new gen cards. But cool. All right. Well, I think we both had some valid points in these tier lists.
Yeah, so we'll pull them both up real quick if I can hide the ads. So, McAllister, you could just show them in the pictures.
Coming your way.
I guess we'll just do the quick little, what would we change about each other's tier lists if we had to? For me, I mean, 3050 60 got probably a little bit lower, but again, it's one of those things where we use it a lot for the channel, and I understand the quote-unquote hatred of the card, but it's one of those things where I think it's more of a problem with the market right now than the card itself. And then a 5090 I would just put up because I did this in the last tier list video. I think I probably put 4090 very low because of it. And the more I thought about it, I'm just like, it's incredibly expensive, but something about the fastest card on the planet in terms of gaming performance, it's cool that it exists and it feels like it deserves C tier just because it's the fastest card. If it's really expensive, price performance, yeah, I can understand that argument, but I really just like seeing the coolest, fastest stuff. And I probably rank it a little higher because of that.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, I mean, really mine's just the exact same opposite argument, really, where it's like, NVIDIA, I don't care about your fastest card. I just care about price to performance because most of us gamers, we don't have $3,000. And that's just the GPU. Yeah. Most people's builds are less than $3,000. So, and that goes for the 5080 as well. I really think that those are two cards that they sell for way too much, and you guys need to work on cutting those prices.
Jonah, any final thoughts?
Well, if I had to pick between both lists, I think I would probably choose Matt's. Okay. Between the two, I think it's just a little more well balanced. I think the main thing I don't like about either one of your all's lists is Still where you all put the 7000 series, I think I would put them pretty low.
That's fair.
Just because the fact that it just doesn't make sense to buy them now because of how good the new cards are. And then the last thing too, you guys both put 9070 in S tier. I'd move it down to A tier because I'd probably consider NVIDIA options before I bought the regular 9070, unless I'm going to the XT. But that's it.
I can see that. Well, guys, we want to hear from you all. What do you all think of these tier lists down below? If you want to do it on yourself, you can use the link in the description down below. And let us know if you guys want to see a CPU tier list for 2025. Probably going to do it anyways, but we want to hear from you guys down below.
But as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Now make sure you guys, if you do these tier lists, you actually post them in our Discord server because we would love to see them and maybe get in some arguments on Discord.
Discord.gg/ToastyBros is our Discord server where we drop deals that we find for future videos. We'll also just hang out and talk with you guys, and you can get a bunch of updates on fun stuff happening with the Toasty Bros. Be sure to join using the link down below. See you guys later. Goodbye.
Peace.